Hey everyone, I'm Zoeb and I'm a software engineer. Today I'm going to show you how to add Spring animations to your Angular app using the awesome JavaScript library called Popmotion. We're going to build something like this. What is Popmotion? Popmotion is a low-level JavaScript library, animation library, which is the brains behind the popular Motion animation package in React. It supports a wide range of animation options, but we are only interested in Spring animations here. As you can see, Spring animations are a bit different than the traditional CSS animations. They model physical motion much better and result in a much more natural looking animation in the end. So let's get started then. I already have a simple contacts app which I built in Angular, to which I want to add some animations to. To build the sample app yourself or to get the source code for it, you can check out the link in the description. First, let's install the Popmotion library with npm install Popmotion and save it. Okay, so now the library is installed. Next, we need to get a reference to the element that we want to animate. So for example, we have our header component here and it's opened up here. What we need is that we need to add the animation to our icon and our heading. We'll call this as title in our template file and assign a template variable to it. Next, we are going to go in our component and we are going to add a view child decorator to get the title here. Now let's animate our title in the ngAfterViewInit lifecycle method. Now we need to do it in the ngAfterInitView lifecycle method because otherwise the element might not be initialized when we call it. So let's add animate to this. And let's first import it. Popmotion. Popmotion has an animate function which we use to start our animation. So we are just going to call the animate function. Now the animate function has a couple of parameters that we need to discuss. There are lots of options, but we are simply interested in the from parameter, the to parameter and the type parameter. Okay, so the type we are going to keep as Spring because, as I said, we are interested in Spring animations here, and in from we are actually targeting the transform value, which would be translate minus 200 pixels from the left, so translate X. So we are actually looking for a fly in animation from the left side, and the 2 would be translate X 0 pixels. Great. The last thing we need to do is to specify our update function, which will actually change the style of our element to animate it. We could directly change the element style as well, but the more proper Angular way is to use renderer service. Okay, so first specify the onUpdate function here. This gets a value which is actually the latest value that we have, and we need to specify a function to it. Let's include the renderer service in our constructor. Okay, and now we are just going to use the renderer to set style to our title native element, and the style would be actually transform, and the value would be the value that we get. Okay, so this should work now. Let's test and see if this works really. Let's do ngserve. Then okay, so as you can see, we now have a nice looking springy animated title which we have added to our app, and this looks great. This is all well and good, however you will notice that it's a bit too much work. What if we have to add the same animation, for example, to different elements? We'll have to add a reference to all the elements and then call them from the code. And it's overall a very cumbersome process that we have to add a view child decorator to our app, to our component, and then we add an animation to it. But the good thing is that we have Angular, so there must be a better way, and there is, by using Angular directives. Now what are directives? Directives are basically components, but without any UI associated with them. So directives can be attached to UI elements to change them in some way. This is exactly what we want with our animations. So let's create a directive for our animation called fly left using ng-generate directive animations/fly left. We are going to store all our directives in a folder so that we can refer to it later. Okay, so we have our directive here. Now let's go into our directive. Okay, so the first thing we need to do in the directive is to get the element the directive is attached to. We can do this by simply referencing to the element ref in our constructor. So something like this, el and element ref. Angular will pass the element inside here so we can use it. Next, we're just going to get the code that we have from the header component, and we are going to add it. We're going to remove it from here, and we're going to add it to an ng-on-init function here. We need to import the again, and also we need the renderer, so we're just going to add the renderer here as well. And we're going to instead use this .el instead of this. Okay. So now that we have our directive set up, let's use that instead of the template variable that we are using here. Instead of this, let's just add app fly left. Okay, and we're also going to remove the last thing that we have. We're also going to remove this from here, and let's now test things. Great, so we got exactly the same animation, but this time it's much cleaner. We only have to put the directive on the element that we want to animate. And the great thing also is that we can reuse this directive wherever we want to apply this animation to. So let's try adding this to our list items now. Let's open up contacts component, and this is our list item here, and let's add it to the name and the name and the phone number, this whole section here. Let's add it to this, so app fly left, and let's see how it looks. Okay, so the animation works fine, but obviously it doesn't come in one by one, which we actually want. So it will be really nice if the list animates one by one in a staggered manner. To do that, let's add an input to our directive which can specify a delay value to start the animation. So to do that, what we are going to go to the directive again, and we are going to specify an input here, an input decorator, and we are going to give the same name as our directive. Now we'll just shift our code to ng-on changes instead, so that we can animate whenever we get an input. let's grab animate and get it here. So this we have to do because since we get the input, we need the animation to happen when we get that input. ng on init is only fired once and not on subsequent changes in the input. So we need to do it in ng on changes. Okay, so let's get the delay value here from the simple changes. Changes dot apply left dot current value, and if this is undefined, then we can just give it as value of 0. Okay. Lastly, let's get the delay value and use it to plug in the animate function. We have an elapse property which we can use with Popmotion, and any negative number here means there will be a delay, so we'll multiply our delay with -1. Okay, and our input here will be in the form of milliseconds. Great. So now that we have our delay set up in our directive, let's shift to the contacts list again. Okay, so here we'll specify an expression for each of the items. First, we'll add an index parameter which will tell us which item we are referring to. We're going to do it by writing let itx is equals to index. So itx here is going to refer to our index of each of the items starting from 0. Then we'll use that to specify an expression here, and we're going to use a value of 200 milliseconds, and we're going to multiply it by idx plus 1. So the first will get a delay of 200 milliseconds, the second will get a delay of 400 milliseconds, third will get a delay of 600 milliseconds, and so on. Okay, so let's test this out now. Now if you look at the formula again, basically when we have the higher the index, we will have greater the delay, and that is how the list staggering actually works, and it gives us back a very nice looking staggered list animation. So we have managed to create a reusable Spring animation directive with custom delay input which can be used with any UI element that we want. Now that's it from me for now, but you can build upon this and create more animation directives as you need for your apps. If you like this tutorial, be sure to like and subscribe my channel for more. Happy coding and thanks for watching.